Hello everyone and welcome to another Starcraft 2 commentary. This is a 2v2 sent in to me by a viewer. It's on Discord, a 2v2 map, which means we have a 2v2 game. There's a Zerg and the Protoss in the upper left here. We've got GrimBlakEcho and DKaiFourteen. And over here in the lower right we've got Darksider and Darkstriker. So Dark guys synced up very well with their the same race and very similar sounding names. You know these two guys are buddies. Probably bought the game together, maybe brothers or friends, something like that. And we have a good old-fashioned 2v2. There's something very cool about 2v2 in StarCraft 2, or in RTS in general, because it's kind of unlike any other game. I mean, the mechanics of a game don't change too much in FPS when you're playing 2v2, but you're still just shooting people whenever you see them. In strategy games, the dynamic changes pretty significantly, and there's a pretty significant bonding that can kind of take place in 2v2, as strange as that sounds. But regardless, right off the bat, it looks like DKaiFourteen setting up a pylon and a forge outside his opponent's base. Yeah, against Protoss, I bet this could be quite effective. It's going to be a little while before the Stalker's out. What kind of build time we got on the gateway? 65 seconds versus the 45 of the Forge. So if DKai is very quick, and if these guys don't notice what's happening, I think they do though. Here we go. Do they notice what's going on here? DKaiFourteen asking for control. Why can't I get vision of Darkstriker? Here we go. Oh, they don't see this forge. It's just missing the vision. They have vision of the whole ramp here, but not of the forge going up. So they're going to miss that, I think. And this cannon is going to get out way before any forces come. For Darksider and Darkstriker, I believe it was. Yep. Yeah, so this cannon rush looks like it's going to be successful, at least initially, with getting the first cannon down. This single probe not going to be able to do much. Going to need to pull a lot more to be successful, and he's too late anyway. This cannon is up for DKai, and he's firing away. Lots of Zerglings coming in support from his ally, GrimBlakEcho, I think it was. And yet getting vision of the ramp with his probe here, able to shoot at that gateway, and throwing a pylon up on top of the ramp. That is an interesting choice. Maybe to prevent a block off and let these Zerglings flood through. That's a very kind of sick little move, actually. Tons of probes being pulled for Darkstriker. I don't know if I like this. They're not going to be effective against this pylon, and the Lings are just going to work here. So we might have a really quick 2v2 here. This gateway is being decimated, completely ripped apart by the Lings and photon cannon fire. But this is where it gets a little tricky. These Lings are going to have to take down this defending photon cannon and deal with all the workers in the base, and we only have 3 Lings currently in the base. Zealot is going to be able to clean these up on his own, really. DKai trying to get a photon cannon down in the base though, and have to deal with these Zerglings, so that might be a bit much for a single Zealot. But these Lings, yeah, there you go, need to hit that Zealot. Who is going to cancel this photon cannon, maybe? No, the cannon gets up in time, but a reinforcing Zealot able to take that out. The 3 Lings still up. First Ling dies, and they are going to fall to the Zealot. Looks like, no, the Zealot goes down, and really going to need to clean that up with the probe. But no reinforcing Lings, man. These GrimBlakEcho's Lings chilling on the top of the ramp and not joining in the attack fast enough. This cannon rush looks like it's petering out. Defensive cannon is up for Darksider, defending Zealot as well. I have allied colors on because this is the first 2v2 I've ever cast, so I might confuse the owner of the 2 units, but the teams will never mistake. We just got red and blue going on. I think that'll help solve any confusion. Don't want to mess with 4 single colors. I have enough trouble commentating a game with 3 Protoss in it. But it looks like this cannon rush is petering out. The Lings are coming in, but is it too late? Are too many Zealots and cannons going to be on the field? We're going to have to see. Maybe DKai can push in and throw down another cannon behind a Ling advance of some kind. We're going to have to look and see. I don't know the leagues of these players. That's something I haven't mentioned. I usually mention when I know it. He may have mentioned it in the email, but I don't remember at this point. And these Lings running in, ill-advised attack. Photon Cannon's in much too good position. Once he really got in there, though, he was going to lose the majority of his Lings anyway, so deciding to commit to the attack, but really just crashing up against the shields of these defenses. So this cannon rush has completely petered out, but DKaiFourteen throwing up additional cannons, if for nothing else, I suppose, to keep the contain up, and really because they're pretty significantly committed to this. DKaiFourteen getting additional gateways here. I'm going to take off the allied color so I can see all the resources of the different units. I think that I can do that, right? Yes, no? Oh no, it doesn't do that in a 2v2, I guess, anyway. Yeah, just select individual players for their resource counts. That's not a problem. We'll still know what's going on. Yeah, GrimBlakEcho wants more cannons from his Protoss ally. As a Zerg, I guess he has great respect for cannons, and a proxy base being set up aggressively in the rich mineral field base, the gold base here, closer to their opponents than their own base. Very ballsy for DKai. Losing a cannon there to a high ground cannon of Darkstrikers, though, is DKai. Yeah, but for now he does have a contain here, and tons and tons of forces being warped in for the Darksider Strider twins. And they have successfully fended off the cannon rush, but they are stuck on 2 base. No third base inside this shared base on this map on Discord. Looks like both gold expansions coming up for these guys, though. GrimBlake and DKai are going to be sitting on tons of minerals. Looks like he's going to lose his forge, which is a pretty big deal. DKai not going to be able to spam more cannons at the front of this base. Gets some high ground vision, which does nothing, but potentially he scouted his opponent a little bit. So we have a cannons arm race here, a cannon arms race. No warp gate technology for either player yet. Just kinda silly, but silly stuff happens in cannon rush games. DKai looks like he's transferring tons of probes, and his allies likewise transferring tons of drones to the gold base. A little bit premature transfer for the Zerg, but that's okay. They will eventually start mining directly to this new base. And we're going to see how they transition out of this early cannon aggression. And we're going to see what the Darkstriker twins can do out of sitting on 1 base apiece. It looks like Darksider is electing to go for Robotech, queuing up 4 Immortals. That is unorthodox, but I like it. DKaiFourteen wanting to see Mutalisks from his Zerg ally. GrimBlake being implored to build Mutalisks. Let's see if he obliges. He is quite a ways away from that. 0 drones on his main base, and I think he's going to end up a bit oversaturating this gold. You really want 3 workers max per mineral patch, but maybe now electing to rally. No, he's going to just rally every single drones he makes from this point to the gold. DKai demanding more expansions from his Zerg player. That makes sense. Zerg is able to expand very quickly. Does not quite have the resources to build another hatchery. But the contain is alive and well, and DKai taking a Nexus, almost a bad manner Nexus outside his opponent's natural, throwing up more and more cannons. These Immortals will be pretty decent at breaking down a photon cannon contain. Probably want to lead with those, as well as do tons of damage with their bonus against buildings. I think the bonus against armored applies to buildings, doesn't it? I believe it does. I see them tearing up spine crawlers all the time. Yeah, so some additional drones coming out from GrimBlake. No layer tech, as DKai implored him to get, demanded he get that air, but nothing happening. Don't know if this is a random team or not. But yeah, DKai, man, wanted to see some air units out of GrimBlake, and we are not seeing any move in that direction. Just drones, and more drones. What kind of economy are we sitting at? So everybody has a pretty low number of workers for this point in the game. Not able to transition super quickly out of that early aggression are our heroes in the upper left, but yeah, they do have the gold bases, which I like. No workers on the assimilators yet, but maybe something more important going on, focusing their attention on something else. DKai does have Void Rays coming in, so we'll see what he's able to do with those. Gonna certainly want to avoid the cannons, which are pretty much everywhere in his opponent's base, but he certainly could fly in through the back here, harass some workers, take down the assimilator. something like that. Now gas being mined at this forward gold base. And Contain still alive and well. I think these immortals are what they really intend to destroy the cannons with. Darksider getting tons and tons of immortals. And what is our friend's Darkstriker getting? Striker is getting the Void Rays for the Protoss team. So we will see some Void Ray Immortal mix here, which is pretty cool, fairly non-standard. A couple of Stargates here for Darkstriker. Darkstrider bringing the heavy ground, or Darksider rather. So there's a clear divisional labor there, heavy lifting on the ground, going to be done by Darksider. I hope he doesn't move in with just these units. He has more immortals than this. He has zealots, or Darkstriker has zealots anyway. And what kind of units are we going to see out of the Zerg? He has done nothing but drones, super hardcore to this point, which is every Zerg's dream, at least relative to the fact that he's not making an army. Only has 52 drones, but that is by far the most of anybody in the game. 15 minutes into this 2v2, we see 54 for the Zerg player, and the three Protoss have 40, 25, and 14 apiece. I believe this blue is yet DKaiFourteen. DKai getting tons and tons of tech, Stargate tech, Templar tech, which of course let him get a Twilight Council, and it looks like he's researching Blink, yep. And another Stargate on the way, so a lot of mixed tech from the Protoss of the Protoss Zerg team. And we do have a layer out of our Zerg player now, getting a Spire as well. So Spire Roach tech going down, interesting combo. Roach Mutalisk. It's actually something I've been wanting to play with a little bit. A little bit of Roach Mutalisk play. I do it against Terran sometimes, but anyway, we have a couple more photon cannons getting high ground ranged by Darkstriker here, simultaneously adding to his own defense, I suppose, while taking out one of the containing cannons. So that was a pretty cool move. Another forward cannon going down for Darkstriker. The Dark Twins here are getting kind of choked out of this game, slowly but surely, I feel. They are getting lots of high-tech units, but their supply is going to struggle, I imagine, just being stuck on one base apiece. Yeah, Darksider and Darkstriker at the bottom here, yep. And they have similar armies to their Protoss opponent, but their Zerg opponent is pulling well ahead in supply. And in income, I'm sure they're way behind. They sure are. Their combined mineral intake does not surpass that of the Protoss, and it's only half of that of their Zerg opponent. So the choked analogy applies, and we should see this army count climb significantly in the favor of the containing players. Taking out 3 photon cannons in the last 6 minutes, not really going to be enough to break this contain and take additional bases. At least like to see an attempt to maybe fly a warp prism out and hide a base. But none of that being done, just sitting behind, happy to be contained and build a pretty nasty army as far as tech goes. A bunch of immortals and a bunch of void rays, but gonna fall behind drastically in army count. Yeah, their Protoss opponent jumping out ahead of them. DKaiFourteen getting up to 73 supply, his Zerg ally at 86 versus the 59 and 47 respectively for the Dark Twins, as I've so named them. Gonna be ranging down another photon cannon. That's kind of cute, but really is not going to help you long term very much. Loss of a single photon cannon pales in comparison to the sick number of bases that your opponents are getting, guys, including both golds. So, I must have been missing some Void Ray action. If that's the case, I apologize, but Blink Stalker's out here for DKai, able to take out some of the Void Rays of Darkstriker, who's not getting anything done with his Void Rays at the moment. I will be able to tell if he got some workers killed, won't I? There's a workers killed tab not popping up. Maybe this is from an older version or something, I don't know. I don't think I had to reload Starcraft to watch this. But Darkstriker losing the vast majority of his harassing Void Ray force, and he is going to run into a death squad of Stalkers here in DKai's base. Trying to find somewhere to run where he's not being shot by anti-air, but he cannot find a single place on this map that is not being defended by the forces of his opponent. Will this single Void Raid? Yes, he gets to the high ground and may escape, but I think he's only going to find another queen. He sure is. GrimBlake has queens at all of his bases, which is pretty crazy. The potential to macro and for his macro and army up is great. He's been stuck at about 80 supply for a while, but he has jumped up to 200 max potential supply, so we could see a huge jump in his army. We do. It goes to 141 out of 200. That is pretty sick as he takes down the Void Ray, who is on too low health to kill a single queen by itself. with no charge to help there. So yeah, we also have carriers out for DKai. Maybe we should keep the production tab out, keep better tabs on what's going on. 28 corruptors, that's where the supply went. Gonna want to see those turned into broodlords, of course. I really don't. I hope he's not all too concerned about the void rays he saw earlier. Corruptor's not amazing against void rays anyway. We do have hive tech on the way, so no broodlord tech for quite a while. That is kind of an absurd number of corruptors to make, sir, but you do have 4,000 minerals, so I should not criticize you too heavily. Yeah, these guys have mined themselves out just about. The dark toss twins. In this lower right corner have been mining off a single base for way too long. Kind of a pitiful harass attempt here by one of the dark guys. Not going to do nearly enough when you know your opponents have had free reign on the entire map for the whole game. Really would have liked to have seen you do something a little more aggressive than that. These immortals were a good idea to bust down the contain, but they just were not used to any kind of effect. Yeah, that is a tap out. The Dark Twins leaving the game instead of trying to bust out, let themselves be slowly constricted. The only attempt they made to move out of their base at the mid game there was with the voids, and not much at all happened. I think I might have even missed the majority of action there. Maybe they scouted these corruptors and were terrified into submitting. Either way, that's the end of this 2v2 here. I believe Kai sent it to me, so thanks for sending me the game, man. Sent me a bunch of FFAs and team games. Don't think I'll be able to get to all of those. I'm going to try to cast one game from everybody that submitted me one. Everybody that was kind enough to submit a game. Thanks for sending it in. And yeah, this is my first 2v2. I will cast anything you send me in. I probably prefer 1v1s, honestly, but I'll stick to my promise that I'll cast anything you send me. So thanks for sending it in, Kai, and I'll see you all next time.